to the Doulos dessert tonight. We're glad to have you with us today. My name is Les Woolsey, and I attend this church, but I'm also on Paul's board. I'm the chairman of this board. Yeah, there you go. So, just a quick we'll come back. There'll be more desserts afterward, or more opportunities for dessert after we have a chance to talk after the presentations. If you need the washrooms, they are through those doors and to your right. Both men's, women's, and handicapped are over there. So, thank you very much for coming this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul now.
All right, well, thank you. It's great to be able to see everybody out. We appreciate you coming. And first of all, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say some thanks at the beginning of the evening here too. And I just want to thank Christine and Marjorie and for helping put this together tonight. So the desserts are amazing, and the truth is, Matt and I really didn't have to do anything, did we? But that's what makes it absolutely wonderful. So that's right, and everything tastes so good at the same time. Exactly. So Les is part of my board, and Marnie is also here, and she's part of my board as well. She's over here, and Marjorie, and then my wife Patty. So very thankful for Patty. Not only, a board member is great, but at the same time, it's wonderful just having her not only as my best friend, but somebody who's been a huge support all these years and all these crazy endeavors that I continue to take on. And so she's been just amazing that way. We're going to begin the evening, though, by giving you a chance to be able to hear from Matt Belfay. And the crazy thing about Matt is that not only has he been working with me with Doulos for the last year, but I've known Matt since he was in high school. And so I knew him back when he was a high school student, and became connected with him through the Men Youth. And I told him, I said, one of the most amazing things about him was that years ago, he would have been in probably his grade 12 year, I think just before he went to Moody. And I was speaking at a retreat, and the truth was I had just come out of a tough week. It was unbelievable. And Matt comes and he looks at me and he says, Paul, he says, how are you doing? I said, good. And you know how you give that answer? You just sort of like, let's just end the conversation, let's go someplace else. And I just said, good. And he just kept staring at me, and he looked at me, and looked at me, and looked at me, and then he said, I think you need a hug. And if you've ever gotten a hug from Matt, it's a full embrace. It just is that. And he just held on to me. And the truth is, I got teary. And I just thought to myself, wow, yeah, I needed this far more than I thought I did. And I looked at him and I thought, what an amazing heart this guy's got. Lord, I sure hope you're calling him into some form of ministry where he'll have a chance to be able to touch other people's lives and stories with that heart that you've given him. And sure enough, the Lord did. Little did I know at that time that we would actually not only cross paths when he was a youth pastor and starting his ministry here in Ottawa, but that we would actually come to work together, and we work very, very closely together on a number of things here in the region. I'm very pleased about that. So Matt's going to come up right now, and he's going to share with you, in a shotgun approach, really, many different things that are going on here in the ministry. So.
I guess I'll use this. I don't really need it. I don't need this. I'm not going to lie to myself.
Matt?
We do need it? Okay. We need this. We need this, guys. That's okay. It's true, I've known Paul for a long time. So long, I knew Paul when he had gray hair. I thought of that while you're talking. And it's funny, because it's not nice. But what you said about me was so nice. It's true, I work with Paul. It's a delight to do so. If you don't know me, I'm thrilled you're here. Okay, if a full disclosure, I was at a conference for the last 2 days, and I was like, dessert night, okay. I was trying to psych myself up. But as soon as you guys started coming through the door, I was like, this is awesome. And I'm just so excited to tell you all about what's been going on. I don't want this to feel like an announcement night, but my slides kind of feel like announcements at youth group or something like that. But I just want to tell you a lot about what it is Paul and I work on together. And Paul, if I miss anything or don't include some detail, please, when you come and share, add those. But I just want to do that. Also, if you don't know me, or if you do, I just want to introduce my fiance, which is, perfect transition, one of the many hats I wear. Thank you. No, I wanted to talk about what I do with Doulos, but I can't really talk about what I do with the Doulos without also talking about the other things that I do. One of those being Truth Snack, which I'll talk about, but also being a youth pastor in the region that I minister to regionally through Doulos. And it's really cool to see those things work together. And in many ways, I receive a double blessing in trying to minister to students and then turning around, putting on another hat as a youth pastor, and receive that blessing for my students. So let me tell you a little bit about that in way of a few different things. The first is an event that goes on every single Good Friday and has last year and will this coming Good Friday as well, called No Other Name. What I love about No Other Name is, Paul's right, as a student, I attended No Other Name, and the vision has always been to lead students to the cross. Of course, figuratively speaking, but the churches we hold it in also have a cross for them to come to. But to really confront them with this idea that Christ loves them, died for their sins in order to restore their relationship with God. And so I have a video, and I just put that slide there so that I don't forget that I have a video. But what I want to do is I want to play this video we have for you so that you can get a little bit of a feel of what the day is like every single Good Friday at No Other Name. So let's enjoy this together.
Say his name within the darkest hour and see his light illuminate our path. The road is narrow, but our gaze is set on the love of Christ until the very end. Walking in truth that overcame our sin. We're leaving past, and now he wants our live. Giving our lives to see your name made known. 'Cause the love of Christ is what the world needs most. So love, lead us in the ways of your love. To lead a broken world to the cross. Lead us in the ways of your love. Say, oh, we are yours forever. Our lives won't be the same. Yours forever. Our eyes won't turn away. Yours forever. Singing your praise until our lungs give out to the hope of the world, the one who gave us life. Giving our lives to see your name made known. 'Cause the love of Christ is what the world needs most. So love, lead us in the ways of your love. To lead a broken world to the cross. Lead us in the ways of your love. We are yours forever. Our lives won't be the same. Yours forever. Our eyes won't turn away. Yours forever. Our lives won't be the same. Yours forever. Our eyes won't turn away.
So one thing I'm always communicating to the students that I work with is that at No Other Name, you can always know that there will be some things. Oops, spoiler alert. There'll always be some certain things that you can enjoy. And you saw it a lot in that video. There'll always be good food. Your friends will be there. And there's always going to be tons of fun. And we promise that. And that's a good thing. But really, if in your heart, if you're supporting Doulos Ministries, you're like, wait a second, something's missing. Yeah, and faith. And I'd like to tell my students, you know what? You can get food, fun, friends. You can get that on your sports team. You can get that hanging out in your friend's basement. And those are all good things, and we love those. But the promise is also that we're sincerely going to bring your students to a place where they can consider their relationship with God. So I like to say that to our students about No Other Name. Food, fun, friends. We all like that stuff. But what makes No Other Name different is on Good Friday, you can actually consider your relationship with God. And this is what I'm trying to say. Of the 800 plus students, my students were there from Sunnyside Youth, so I got to be a part of planning No Other Name with Paul and Exousia and the network that we're part of, which is incredible. And then on the day of, my students are coming to me after they have an opportunity to respond to the gospel, and they're sharing that with me.
And so when I get to wear both those hats, you see, I get to be part of the joy of working for months beforehand, making sure No Other Name is going to have food, fun, friends, but also faith. And then I get to be there on the day of with my students and to see what God is actually doing in their hearts as they're sharing about what they want God to do with their lives and how they want to be more devoted to Him. So No Other Name is an incredible time, and your support has gone towards helping make that possible through supporting Paul and myself. Also, something that went on in August was something that we call PrEP, the PrEP retreat. And does anyone know what PrEP stands for? I'm going into full youth pastor mode right now. Anyone know what PrEP stands for? So, guesses from the back? Yes, Mom? Prep, well, yeah, well, that's what, yes, thank you. Prep means preparation. But each of the letters stands for something. Any other guesses? Take a shot in the dark. You'll probably be right. Relationships, very good, thank you. Prayer, thank you. Praise is not one of them. Sorry. Sorry? Engaging. No, that's not it. We're getting there. Sorry? Equip, we're going to go. We got 3 out of 4, we're doing pretty well. So PrEP is a retreat that we do in August to help youth leaders around the region pray, relate, equip, and plan. So as part of a weekend away, where Paul is there and some other youth ministry, we call youth ministry specialists in our region, are there in order to help youth pastors actually prep for the year. And that means praying, spending time asking God where He wants you to go with your youth group that year. Relating to one another as youth ministers and supporting each other. Equipping, because even youth pastors will bring their team with them and spend time equipping them to have a successful year as they work with students. And then actually planning, and I know it's kind of a synonym for prep, but actually pulling out your calendar and getting things on there and think, you know what, hey, let's actually look to the future here. And it's been a great year. I've gone again, wearing both of those hats, helping run this retreat, where youth pastors are coming from around the region and youth workers, but also being there myself and praying and relating, equipping and planning. Because we really do believe that good prep leads to good ministry. And it's been great to see youth pastors not live week to week, but actually try to live year to year in what it is that God's doing in them and wants to do in their ministry. Now, I do plan pretty much my whole ministry year in the summer, and there's always flexibility, there's always change there. But we wouldn't want a teacher in a school going week to week or day to day in their planning and in their preparation, and neither do we want that with our leaders, with our youth ministry. So prep is a great time when we actually get to help them look ahead for their year and kind of break that youth pastor stereotype. Yes, we do wear crazy t-shirts, but we don't have to continue to be disorganized, which is an unfortunate stereotype. And so prep is one thing that we do to help break that and actually have ministry be even more productive in the region. There's also something else going on called Exousia. Paul, am I going too long or is this good? Oh, okay, good. Got the okay. Exousia. One thing that's really special about Exousia is that out of that group comes the group that plans No Other Name. Exousia means empowerment. It's something we do once a month on the third Thursday of the month. And it's, again, just a gathering of youth ministers from around the city. And so every month we gather with them and spend time kind of doing similar things that we do on the prep retreat, praying and relating and equipping and planning for our ministries, but on much more of a consistent basis and checking in. It's really, and I can say, again, because I'm wearing kind of both of those hats, it's a great in the trenches kind of together feel, where we can actually spend time going, how's your ministry? How are things going? And luckily enough, you can say, not well. And they're like, why? And it's like, well, this is what's happening. They're like, me too. It's great to have the same problems as other people. And Exousia is a time when we can come together and empower each other. And I just want to share one really incredible story, something that really was important to me, which was last year, I think, when there was kind of that kerfuffle around getting funding for summer students, and churches were having a hard time with that. You can imagine as a youth pastor and as churches, that can be kind of a stressful thing to navigate, not know exactly how you're going to do that, especially on an interaction with the government kind of level. It's the kind of thing that you can feel kind of alone in processing, and not the thing that you might just talk to someone on the street about. They might not even know what's going on there. But at Exousia, we had an extended time of actually saying, okay, how are we going to navigate this? How are we going to interact with our government and our culture that is loving, but is also faithful to our Lord and what it is that we believe in? It's a challenging thing, but we were actually able to have a conversation about that. And then support each other. Some people were drafting letters to their MPs and saying, hey, feel free to take this and adapt this. I sent this to my MP, and it produced a great conversation that I had with them. So Exousia is really that in the trenches, practical part of ministry where youth pastors can come together and support each other. In that particular instance, I don't know exactly what I would have done, or if I would have given it enough thought. But with Exousia, we could actually come together and process these difficulties. And again, spur each other on to be doing even better ministry to our students in the name of Jesus. And then on a little bit more of a personal note, I want to talk about Truth Snack, which is something I do. Who's aware of what Truth Snack is? Any Truth Snackers? Just kidding, I don't know why I said that. If you're on YouTube, you're supposed to have a cool name for all your fans, which is, anyway, I won't dive into that. But Truth Snack is something I do on YouTube. And I quite enjoy it, and I want to talk just briefly about that as well. Because again, I get to wear multiple hats in that sense, where I get to be a pastor who's engaging with a church and a culture, and yet I can bring these ideas to the internet, and this is where my ministry isn't just local, but can actually go around the world and around our continent. So what I wanted to do for you, if you don't mind, is to just show you a quick video. All videos on Truth Snack are about 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. This is the video I put out this week. I put out a video every single Tuesday. And the point of Truth Snack is to help Christians believe with confidence, particularly those who are doubting their faith. So the edgy title of the video this week is How to Doubt Christianity. So I just want to show that to you so you can get a bit of an idea of the heart behind Truth Snack and what it is I try to do.
How to doubt Christianity. I know from experience what it's like to doubt all of your deepest beliefs and how horrible and uncomfortable that can be. And most of the videos I see online that discuss doubt treat it as though it's something that you need to eliminate from your life as quickly as possible. But I think more importantly than dealing with doubt quickly is dealing with it properly. So here are my thoughts on how to doubt Christianity. Know the stats on doubt. Sadly, it's common for people who are doubting to feel really alone. They might feel like they'll be judged if they express their doubts or ask their tough questions, especially when it seems like everyone else believes so wholeheartedly. The truth is that 2/3 of Christians report having had doubts about their faith at some point, and 40% of Christians report having had doubts and then worked through them. So even though it might feel like you're the only person doubting, that just isn't true. So stop journeying alone and find some support from others. I get that it's tempting to deal with doubts by going on a Google marathon. I really do get it. But can I suggest opening up to someone you trust, especially if there's someone who's gone through doubt themselves? They might be able to help you understand the core of your doubts. If you were asking me, and I know you're not, but if you were, I would say that I don't think the best way to work through doubt is by tackling every single question that pops into your head. That can be exhausting and endless. Instead, I think that you should focus on the most foundational questions of Christianity. How do I know the truth? Does God exist? Did Jesus rise from the dead? And is the Bible God's word? I bet that your doubts actually tie back to one of those core questions of Christianity. And once you've pinpointed the core of your doubts, then I think you need to acknowledge the work it will take to answer that question. The truth is that if you really want to deal with doubt, you're probably not going to feel better in a day. In a month, you might feel just a little bit better, but in a year, you could be in a totally different place from where you are right now. And I know that sounds like an eternity, but we have to stop asking, how do I get rid of doubt quickly? And we need to start asking, how do I need to be transformed by this journey? I don't just believe, I actually know that you can be transformed from a place of crisis to confident belief that Christianity is true. If you want to hear more about my personal story of how I went from crisis to confidence in Christianity, then you should click on this video that popped up right here, and I'll see you over there.
Should we click on it? I won't click on it. So I do that every single week, and my goal is to help Christians help them process their tough questions. And sometimes that looks like, do we worship the same God in Islam and Christianity? Sometimes it looks like this concept of the Trinity just doesn't really seem to make sense to me. How does that work out? or it could be questions about the reliability of the Bible, or whether Jesus really rose from the dead. I've spent over 2 years putting out a video a week, and it's been incredible to see students from within Christian families really respond to that and be interested in it, because, as this statistic says, it's from Barna, 1/3 of high school students don't think church is a safe place to express doubts. That is jarring. And it's jarring because of 2 words. They don't think it's a safe place. The stat is not that they think it might be awkward or uncomfortable or difficult. They don't think it's safe. So I'm happy to be a lightning rod going, hey, I'm the pastor and I used to doubt everything about Christianity. Let's talk about it, okay? We can talk about it, and this can be a safe place. So that's something I get to do with Truth Snack, and I'm happy to tell you that people get back to me, and it's awesome. Even actually in this room, Fusion Youth, the youth group meets here that I've spoken at a few times. And I know that this fall they were using Truth Snack videos for a youth group, and they were playing a video, and then they were breaking up into circles around tables and actually discussing it. So I'm happy to say that youth groups, high school classrooms, and small groups are using Truth Snack to help Christians work through doubt and believe with confidence, which is super exciting. And it goes, it's a ministry that helps students who are within the church, but it also goes beyond that. So one of the, you could call it a blessing or a curse, is YouTube comments. And they have a reputation, and their reputation is true. It can be kind of brutal online. But this is something I just wanted to grab because it's actually pretty incredible. This person said, I think you're earnestly seeking the truth of the matter, and I commend that. Have you ever watched these channels? And then he goes on to list a bunch of atheist channels telling me I'm wrong, which is totally fine. That's the beauty of YouTube, and I get to interact with people every single week who do not believe in God, who are adamant and pushing against that, and people who were Christians and have really struggled with it. And frankly, sometimes those conversations are stressful, and they can be rude. Not me, I have a commitment to loving those people, but it can be really difficult to engage on those topics with some people. But every once in a while, people are going, you know what, you're actually asking these questions, and you seem sincere and wanting to believe the truth, not just for you, but that everyone should be pursuing the truth passionately on whatever it is. So even this week, I was talking to someone, and he had seen the video, and we had an incredible conversation on Facebook back and forth. And I just said, hey, you've been really polite, and I've really enjoyed this. Can you please keep watching my videos and commenting on them? Because the kind of dialogue we're having is the kind of dialogue our world needs. And he said, will do. I started watching channels like yours for that reason. I could be wrong, and if I am, I need to know that. I really dislike living in an echo chamber. That's a pretty incredible statement to hear online these days, to go, you know what, I might be wrong, and if I am, I need to start listening to people who have different opinions so that I can see it from their perspective. So I wanted to share all that because what's going on in Truth Snack is awesome. I love that. Tonight I will go home and I'll check my analytics, and I'll see that tonight while I was here with you, 12 people will have watched videos and been interacting with them. So it's kind of a way also for me to multiply my reach. While I'm here doing ministry, I'm doing ministry online. So that's something I get to do with True Snack, which is great. And then the last thing I want to fill you in on, which you're supporting with Paul and I, is Just Ask, which is a conference that's coming up on January 11th. And again, it's kind of like True Snack in the sense that it's apologetic bent, in that it's an event to help defend Christianity and help students. And Just Ask is $15 on January 11th, and there are speakers coming from RZIM. If you've heard of RZIM, you know that their heart is not just to answer people factually with the answer to their question, but much like Jesus, they're interested in understanding the heart of the questioner behind the question. So we're excited about that, and we decided to design the event itself around that. So the speakers will be coming, and they'll be presenting in each of their sessions for about 15 minutes, and then there'll be about 45 minutes for any questions and Q&A. So again, in this coming January, it's going to be an opportunity for students from around the region to gather. Students who are doubting, students who are confident and want to grow in that confidence in Christ, and students who are just exploring it for the first time, and they're going to have an incredible opportunity to just ask their questions, and we can start to work through the misconception that it's not safe to ask your questions at church. And that starts with godly adults saying, ask your questions, and I'll continue to love you no matter where you land with the answer. So in a moment, I'm just going to invite Paul, because he's got some stuff he wants to share with you. Thank you so much In supporting me, as many of you do, and supporting Paul, you allow me really the honor and the pleasure of wearing both those hats at the same time. Of being a youth pastor with youth every single week, which I don't know if I could ever give up at this point in my life. It's just so great, and I love doing it. But at the same time, I get to minister regionally and work on things that are going to help equip and support pastors, and also put on these events that can reach students more broadly throughout the region. So I just want to say thank you for being here, and thank you for your financial support, which actually makes it possible for me to do that. It is a delight to see how the jobs that I have work in tandem together and actually work really great. It's kind of like skiing with two skis on, actually. I don't know, that just popped into my head and I thought I'd share it with you guys. It works really well, and maybe it could work with just one, but I wouldn't want to try. Is that a good illustration? We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your support. Paul's going to come and share.
I'm glad I let him go first, but I'm terrified of the fact that I have to follow that up, and there's no way I'm going to be able to exude that same kind of energy in terms of how he just did that. But there's also no question in my mind that we're certainly getting our money's worth, and with what Matt's involved in and what he's doing, it's absolutely incredible. And the Just Ask thing, by the way, is something completely new for us, and this is something we haven't ever done before, but we are venturing into this for two reasons. One, it was a youth pastor here in the region who approached me and said, Paul, we've got this chance with Rabbi Zacharias Ministries where they have a youth thing that they'd like to do, and we're willing to try to see what can be done here in Ottawa with it. And when he explained it to me and he showed me the questions and stuff that they were looking at and that they wanted to ask, I said to him, you know what, we definitely want this. We want our youth to be able to know there's no question that they ever have to be afraid to ask. And that there's a heart behind the question, and that there's always a story behind the question. The question is very seldom just because they want to be intellectually satisfied. The question is always there because somewhere in their story, their heart has been impacted, and now this question is real, and they need an answer to it. And so we're excited about this and about the opportunity to be able to see this happen this year. And so, okay. Just to tell you a little bit about, and Patty and I are very blessed. Not only have we been married now for 38 years, but we have 7 grandchildren. And believe it or not, we have an 8th one coming at the end of December. And so this was the very best picture I could find from last Christmas, and it's all because the kids want to be anywhere else but in the picture. And so they're always looking at what they can do, but we're just very, very blessed with this opportunity to be able to have them in our lives and be able to invest in them. To give you a quick little synopsis, though, just on a few things in terms of what I am involved in here in the region, and so that you can appreciate that. And then I want to focus a lot on the northern stuff that God has called us to. In the region here, I spend a lot of my time working one-on-one with youth pastors and with leaders. And so that's one of the things that I get the privilege of being able to do. And then it's come alongside these young leaders, come alongside these youth pastors who a lot of times have nobody else to talk to. Just a month ago, just in October, towards the end of October, I had a chance to be able to get together with a young youth pastor here in the region, and we started chatting the whole bit, and I just asked him a couple of questions, and he sort of looked at me and he started putting out feelers to see was it safe to go there with me. And then he started just opening up, and about something he was definitely really, really struggling with God in terms of something that had happened in his life, and he didn't know how to resolve it. He didn't know how to get past it. And we spent over 2 hours just chatting and talking. And then he looked at me and he said, I have not found anybody yet who was safe to talk to. He said, you're the first person. You're the first person I felt that I could honestly be safe to talk to. And I just want to thank you for that. That's the privilege I get here in the region. Sometimes I get calls, believe it or not, from senior pastors who will call me and say, somebody gave me your name. Usually it's through One Way Ministries. And they were wondering if I could talk to you for a few minutes. And I'd say, sure, do you want to get together? No, over the phone's just fine. It's actually, I don't want to talk to you. I want you to talk to my youth pastor. They need somebody to talk to. And they're trying to talk to me, and the truth is, I don't know what to talk to them about. And so I'm wondering if you could do, something and get together with them. And so I end up doing that on a regular basis. And it's amazing how many times it is just, they need somebody safe. They need somebody safe. They need somebody outside of their own church community often too. And they need somebody who can understand what it is that they're going through. And then speak words of life that they really are doing okay. They're following their calling. They've got an anointing. They've got the gifts. They've got the abilities. And for them to be able to move forward with that with a renewed vision and renewed life. And so I'm thankful for that opportunity that I get with them on a very regular basis. I'm still involved in coaching football. It is, like my boys said to me a few years ago, our kids are now all in their 30s, and for those of you who have children who are in their 20s and 30s, you realize sometimes that they have conversations while you're sitting there as if you didn't exist. And so they were discussing this and going, so what's Dad's hobbies? And what would you do if you ever retired? Like, what would you spend his time doing? And they started discussing amongst themselves, and I sat there thinking, I'm right here, like, a little bit. And then they just looked at me and they said, yeah, I think coaching football is the only thing that we can think of that you really do as a hobby, so you should never give that up. And I looked at them and said, well, thank you, I appreciate that. It just means a lot to me. But this past year I had the privilege of coaching at one of the high schools here in the city, and each year I still have the privilege as well as working with the Athletes in Action and doing the high school all-star game. And so those are two things, but it's something I deeply, deeply love and enjoy. And the truth is, it brings me into the non-church community. And the majority of people that I work with, they're from outside the church. As a matter of fact, many of them will look at me and go, "You're what?" And I go, "A pastor." "A pastor? What's that?" and they look at me like, like all of a sudden I've grown two heads and they're trying to figure out which one to talk to. But it's the closest they ever come to interacting with somebody who actually is employed in a full-time faith position within a church. And it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing when they suddenly begin to realize that, oh my goodness, he really knows stuff outside the Bible. I mean, he knows how to be able to coach this game. He knows how to be able to talk to kids. He knows how to get them motivated. And so it's an unbelievable privilege that I have on a regular basis. I thought, can you hear that too? So, okay. One of the other privileges that I've had over the years too, and that is that I get the chance to be able to do weddings. And that really is an unbelievable privilege. And the crazy thing about it is that the majority of weddings that I do right now are for people who are also outside of the church community. And they're people that I've coached. They're people that I've come in contact with through youth things and where they got involved and a whole bit. And then all of a sudden they call me up and they find me on Facebook, and I'm one of the few white-haired friends that they have out there. And they get in touch with me in a whole bit and they say, just wondering if you'd be willing to do a wedding. And we're getting married. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do our wedding, but we're getting married at my parents' place, or we're getting married at one of these wedding places in the whole bit. It's not a church. Are you okay if it's not a church? Like, you still do weddings if they're not a church? And I go, yes. But I always insist that I said there's three things that we recognize. And I said the first is, I said you have to write your own vows. Usually that paralyzes them. But I tell them I won't put words in your mouth for something that's that important. And I said the second thing is that no matter where the wedding is taking place, I said it's before God. And I said we mention that, we talk about it in the ceremony, and I'll explain it to you. That there's no other place where you can make a higher oath than before God. And I said the final thing is that myself or somebody you choose prays a prayer of blessing over you. And I said a prayer of blessing is a very real thing. It brings life into you. Well, they all know me well enough to know that's probably going to be part of what I'm going to offer. And the amazing thing about it is that none of them balk at it. And that they all go, no, I think that'd be great. Do you want to talk to your partner about it as well? Make sure it's okay with that. And then they always go, oh yeah, I probably should do that. But it gives you an unbelievable opportunity then to be able to speak into their life. And once again, continue on that relationship. And it's just an unbelievable privilege. Believe it or not, I also get to do some funerals. And it's not a highlight, but it is an unbelievable opportunity. And the amazing thing about it is oftentimes it's for people who are, again, outside of the church community. And they come to me at that time. And thankfully, many times too, before they've passed. So I get to be able to spend some time with them during the final days. And it's unbelievable how people who may have been so hostile for the love of Christ, the love of God, even the idea and the concept of that. Somebody in those final days, though, they're asking sincere questions, and they're listening, and they're waiting, and they're watching, and they're thinking. And then they give me the privilege of being able to pray with them. And to me, that's a great honor. It's an unbelievable thing that I get to do. I also wanted to talk about here just a little bit too. I know one thing I want to mention to you as well, and good thing I wrote down notes. And that is that I still get the opportunity to be able to speak in a lot of different places, and that is still a real privilege. I don't speak nearly as often as I used to. I'm learning the fact that it's okay to say no, and that's an all right position to be in. And so what I'm trying to do now is that I'll often just say to people, just give me, please, 3 days a week just to really pray about this and know if I should do it. One of the privileges I got this past year was being able to speak at the City of Ottawa Regional Prayer Breakfast that they have here in the region. And the reason it was so beautiful is because I told them, I said, if I'm going to do this, I'd like to do it outside of your normal format. And would it be okay to do that? So they said, sure. I said, I want to show a video. And I said, I also want to bring down 2 friends of mine that I work very closely with from Sicily, from the northern Aboriginal community in Quebec. And I said, I'd like them to be able to come down so they can share part of their story and share the stage with me as well. And so they agreed, and they allowed me to be able to do that, and it was an unbelievable experience. And so very, very thankful for that. I'm so thankful for it too, especially because when I was up in Sicily just a couple of weeks ago, Pastor Gordon and Mary Jane came up to me and they were just chatting with me about it. Again, they just said, that was great. That was great, Paul, being able to do that with you in Ottawa. That was great. And you know what was so great about it for them? Was how affirmed they were that people heard their message. That people heard their message and affirmed them and said to them, wow, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing what you did. Thank you for the way that you have opened us up to something completely new. And it was just beautiful. And for me, that is just one of the greatest privileges that I have in working with my First Nation friends. And that is when I can give them that opportunity to be heard. So let me talk a little bit about some of the First Nation ministry and stuff that I have, that I get the privilege of being able to do. Well, the first thing I want you to be able to realize, and that is that this is Ben Peltz, by the way. He's my colleague who has been very unbelievably faithful the last few years of being able to help me out. As a matter of fact, has made every single trip with me, pretty much, almost every single trip with me that I've made up north in the last 2 years. And he comes down from Peterborough and heads up there with me. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the ministry that we're able to do together. One of the things that Ben and I were talking about, though, because we have these 10, 11, 12-hour drives together, depending upon the weather. And so you end up doing a lot of talking when you're driving. One of the things he looked at me, he said, Paul, he said, do you have an actual plan for your life, though? He said, where every day you wake up and you're just dedicated to this plan, and you're committed to it 100%, you're just following it, and you just detail all parts of your life, etc., etc. And we're driving along, and I know the right answer is to say, yes, I do, yes. I live a very, very, very committed life and disciplined life towards the goals and objectives that I've set for myself, and so that I don't waste moments, etc. And I thought, is that what Ben's looking for? Because I'm going to have to really disappoint him. I looked at him, I said, no, Ben, I said, I don't. And he said to me, he said, oh, good, Paul. He said, because, he said, you know, he said, the truth is, he said, I find that my life is more regulated by being in a flow, he said, than it is being on a set purpose. And I said, truth is, Ben, I said, I think that's honestly how I've lived most of my life. And then I looked at him, and I said to him, I said, Ben, I said, you know, I said, 15 years ago, I said, I never saw myself come up north. I mean, I never ever saw myself. That was never part of my plan. If you had asked me to list 100 things of what I think I should be doing in my life and ministry, that would never even have shown up on the list. And that never even would have come close to being on the list. And then all of a sudden, God brings me up there. And what was supposed to be 1 week a year has suddenly turned down to about 10 to 12 weeks a year that I'm up there. And it's turned into even more than that. Because now, 15 years ago, the young people that we started working with and doing stuff with are now coming down to Ottawa, living in Gatineau in Ottawa, and going to post-secondary school here. And I get the privilege of being able to walk and journey with them here now as well. I never saw this as being part of the ministry that God has called me to. It is something that has opened up and become an opportunity. Ben and I started talking about it, especially about 8 years ago when we started doing the camps up there with them. It was an amazing conversation that I had with Pastor Gordon and Mary Jane, and they had 4 other elders that joined us for breakfast that morning, and they sat down with me, and they had a very serious discussion that we had to have, and this was the middle of winter, but the summer was coming up, and they really wanted to know. And they said, Paul, what do you think of doing a teen camp? And that we don't have a teen camp, and that we have camps for the kids, but not for the teenagers. Do you think we should do a teen camp? And I said, I think a teen camp is great. And they said, well, could you help us with it? I said, yeah. I said, I can definitely help you with it. And they said, well, how long would we do it for? And I said, we'll do it for a week. I said, same as your other camp, so do it for a week. Will the kids stay overnight at the camp? Yeah, they'll stay overnight at the camp. How will we do that? And I said, I'll bring up people that are good with working with youth. We'll help you with it. Okay. Paul, how many people can you handle if the teens come out to it? And I said to him, I can handle it. And I realized then I had no idea what I've done in my life and in my ministry over the years. And that I'd spent 20 years working in camp ministry, and directing camps that have anywhere from 100 to 300 kids at them. They had no idea. And they said, what if we have 10? I said, we can handle 10. Well, Paul, we could get as many as 20. I said, we can handle 20. What about 25? And I said, we can handle 25. And they said, really? And I said, yeah, no, we could. I said, it's no problem. And they were looking at me kind of shocked and looking at each other and going like, so you'd be able to have them for the whole week? And I said, oh yeah. I said, no problem at all. And I said, but we're going to do things a little bit differently. I said, here's some of the things I suggested, some changes that we would make. And they hummed and hawed, but they agreed with it. They thought, okay, this was totally outside of their understanding or experience, but yeah, let's do this. That year, we had, it was quite a huge number.
It was way more than we did.
Yeah, and there was just a large number of teens that showed up. And then they looked at us and told us, by the way, they'll probably leave by Wednesday, because they normally don't stay and committed to anything, so they'll start wandering out and leaving by Wednesday. By Wednesday, they weren't leaving. By Thursday, they were still there. By Friday, when we were shutting the camp down, we were trying to insist that they needed to go home. And quite a number of about a dozen of them, I think, stayed until Saturday morning, because they realized we weren't leaving till then. So, that has turned into an unbelievable partnership. And now where Ben actually does 4 weeks of camps for us in Nemska, and we do 4 weeks of camps in Nistisny. And we have volunteer teams that come up from different churches that come and help us take each week. And it's just been unbelievable watching what's been happening there during the summers. This is all made possible because of the incredible relationship I have with both Pastor Gordon and his wife, Mary Jane. They are just phenomenal people who have a real love for their community, a real love for family, a real love for youth, a real love for kids. And it has been an unbelievable privilege. I make it clear every time I'm up there in any group situation that I'm speaking at or doing, sharing at or anything else like that, that I am here under their authority. And that they are the spiritual authority and I work under their authority. And that way it's totally understood even within the community. That Paul's not coming up here and simply trying to say, okay, this is what we should do. Instead of saying, I'm coming up here, Gordon and Mary Jane, what do you think we should do? The word doulos means servant. And the reason we chose that word for the ministry was because there's nothing in this region that any of you know is called doulos. Not a single thing. Because doulos is called to come alongside and serve that which already exists. We're not called to create something on our own. We're called to come beside that which God has already given birth to, or what He's already raised up, and then see it affirmed and see it continued. With Gordon and Mary Jane, we have now expanded, and with Ben taking lead on this, and it's just been unbelievable. And that is that we have been developing a mentoring and leadership development program. And mentoring has always been a part of Cree tradition. It's always been a part of what they do, but it's been lost. It's been lost and damaged and devastated by the residential schools, by the fact that we remove kids from their communities for 10 months of the year, and then bring them back for 2, and then remove them again. And they lost all this. And so we have been reintroducing it, and it's been unbelievable. Ben has actually been able to use this as part of his thesis for his doctorate in ministry that he's doing at Tyndale. And they're all excited about it. And we, in the recent trip that we just did 2 weeks ago, we pulled together the 10, 12 people that we've been working very closely with. and pulled them together and started sharing, having them share what it was that they thought they could actually share with somebody else in mentoring. And each of them realizing that they had something that they could actually do that. And then saying to them, would you be willing to share this with other people? And for the first time, they're looking at each other going, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. It's small steps. It's small steps, but we're making progress in that direction. And so it's been one of the exciting things to be able to see that we're able to do and become a proactive thing. This is what I look like, by the way, after 4 weeks of camp. And now one of the kids took this picture and just said, oh, this is really you. And the camp experiences are pretty phenomenal in terms of what we get to be able to do. And this is just pictures of some of the kids and some of the leaders that we have up there that we've been able to work with over the years, and that with the camps. And this has been an unbelievable privilege. You can see Patty up here. She's over here on your right a little bit. And then she came up this year and spent 9 days with us up there, and it was just an unbelievable privilege. It's the first time in 8 years she's had the chance to be able to come up and actually take part in the camp program. And one of the greatest compliments I got, one of the greatest affirmations I got was my wife said to me, she says, I know we talk about it, I know we talk about it. She said, but now that I've seen you up here and see what you're doing, she said, I can't believe it. And so I just thought that was so unbelievably refreshing and affirming for me to be able to realize, okay, so I have a right to look the way I did at the end of 4 weeks. And that because of the pace that we keep when we're up there. But it is just a tremendous and unbelievable experience. One of the privileges that I had this year was that we had baptisms at the end of our junior high camp and the end of our senior high camp. And I'll talk a little bit about those experiences in a moment. But one of the privileges that I had this year was that this fellow Redfern in the gray t-shirt, that's his mom who's standing beside him, and his niece who's on his other side of him, and that's Pastor Gordon standing behind him. And I've known Redfern since I first started going up there 15 years ago. And he's come down, he's lived in our home, he played football here in the region for us for almost a month one time, him and another young guy, Bear. And it was an unbelievable privilege to be able to have that, and then just be able to see the relationship that I've grown over the years with him and his family. And he's gone through a lot. Oh my goodness, he's gone through a lot. But unbelievable thing is that in the last 2 years, he's been asking me all sorts of deep, sincere questions. And we've just spent hours and hours and hours together. Whether it be on the phone, when I'm up there in person, just sitting there, and sometimes in silence, and then sometimes just going to the depth of it. And anyway, this past spring, he gave his life to Christ. And it's deep, and it's solid, and it's transformative, and it's unbelievable watching him go through with this. And then he said to me during the camp, because he came out and helped us with the teen week, and he looked at me and he said, Paul, he said, I want to get baptized. I want to let these kids know that I'm totally serious about this. And he said, so I want you to baptize me. And that was just one of my unbelievable privileges this past summer, was to be able to see that take place and to be involved in this journey at this point. His mom, she was just beside herself. I mean, absolutely beside herself. She was coming out, she could barely walk out of the water, and then she came out with us. And but then you just, she was crying, just uncontrollably crying. But it was obvious that it was the prayers of a mom's heart for her son, that after all these years she finally saw answered. And it meant the world to her. An unbelievable privilege. There's another little story I want to be able to tell you. This little guy's name is Jarvis. And here's one of the things I want to be able to share about the ministry that I have, the privilege of being able to do these things. And that is that there's so much that we do that I can't just always send in an email update or in a news update to be able to say to you, hey, this took place. Hey, I had this privilege of being able to do this. A week and a half ago, I got 2 phone calls from 2 different groups of people saying to me, our Cree family member is in Gatineau. Paul, he needs somebody to talk to. Can you talk to him? And I was already jammed full. I mean, I literally was jammed full with things. And but Patty came home that night, and I looked at her and I said, just want you to know, I said, I got a meeting late Friday afternoon and early Saturday morning, I said, with two of the Cree young adults. And she sort of blinked at me like, you what? How did you get that jammed into your schedule? And I said, I just really felt like the Lord was saying to me, I need to do this. And so I responded to both family members and told them if they contact me, then I'm happy to meet with them. And I did. And both these young adults were suicidal. They had made plans. They had figured out a way that they were going to do it. They had figured out how they were going to be able to accomplish it. And both of them, when they met with me, were just sitting there thinking, there's nothing left. And yet when they left, God had given me the wisdom to be able to speak life through His Spirit into their stories in such a way that they realized, wow, that's not even an option anymore. That's not even an option anymore. I can make it. I can face this. I can get through this. I can get past this. And having the privilege to be able to do that, that's not something I can easily send out all the time in an email or be able to share with people. One of the privileges that I had this past spring, and Eric helped me on it, I think it was in April, wasn't it? And I'm in Carlton Place because I stayed overnight to be able to help my son and my daughter-in-law out with the kids the next morning, getting them off to school. And that morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, as I'm getting up to get ready to help out with the grandkids, I get a phone call from a guy named Bear that I've known literally for the last 15 years as well, and watched him grow up. And I knew he'd gotten engaged, and he had told me his fiancée was expecting a baby. And then about 7 months into the pregnancy, they were informed that the baby had a condition where basically the skull was not forming correctly and the brain was not forming correctly, and as a result, the child would not be born alive. That's what they were told. Your child will not be born alive. And so Bear had phoned me, and he was just in tears when he had that news and the whole bit. We were just praying and praying and praying for this baby. That morning I got a phone call, and it was the morning in April, if you can remember, where we had just that terrible snowstorm, and it was just coming down. It was ice rain and pellets and everything. It was just the worst conditions. And Bear phones me and said, Paul, they've rushed us to the hospital in Montreal. He said, we're here, the baby's coming. And he said, Paul, he said, I need you to be here. And he said, because I want you to pray with my baby, that even if he just has a minute or two to breathe, he says, I want you to pray for him so that he'll be blessed, and we'll see him again when we get to heaven. And he said, would you please come down and pray with my baby when he's born? So I said to him, oh buddy, I said, let me see what I can do. I said, let me just see what I can do. And the honest truth was, I thought, I don't know if I can do this. At the time, I was struggling with vertigo and didn't even know if I could drive to Montreal, if I could even make that drive. And I thought to myself, okay, so who can I phone in Montreal that I think could do this for me? Those were my first thoughts. Lord, there's got to be somebody. Who is it? And I started running through. Not a word of lies. I'm driving from Carleton Place back into Ottawa, and I'm getting about Greenbank. All of a sudden, the Lord just lays on my heart and says, phone Eric Jackson. I thought, he doesn't live in Montreal. Eric Jackson lives in Ottawa. He's here tonight. And I thought, well, it's not going to be helpful, Lord, if I phone Eric Jackson. and honestly, what the Lord just impressed upon me, not an audible voice, but strongly impressed upon me, was ask Eric to drive with you. Ask him to drive me to Montreal. And I thought, okay. Boom, I phone Eric. He goes, hey, how you doing? I said, good. I said, hey, I got a crazy request for you. What is it? And I said, how do you feel about a road trip to Montreal? And without a pause, not even asking me why we were going to Montreal, Eric just simply says, yeah, sure, what time? And he said, I've got some things this morning, can we leave after that? And I said, yeah. And I said, Eric, here's the situation though. I said, when we get there, I don't know how long we're going to be there, here's what we're facing. And he said, no problem, Paul. He said, I will clear my schedule in such a way that it'd be no problem. He says, I'll check with Catherine, he said, but I'm sure we're good. And sure enough, he phoned me back. By the time I got to my house, everything was set up to go. He picked me up at noon, and he drove through that snowstorm and got us there and dropped me off. And the baby was born at 1:30 in the morning. And little Jarvis came into the world, and he was still breathing. Defied everybody's expectation. And as you can see here, when Patty and I saw him towards the end of July, and that he's doing well. He just came back from Montreal. He had a little bit of a low sodium situation in his bloodstream that I don't understand, and that they were able to correct that and the whole bit. And the pediatrician told him, the neurologist and everybody else there told him, they said, we just want you to know something, you are rewriting the medical books. And they said, they think the only reason your child is still with you is because he is just unbelievably loved. And Jarvis is a miracle, an absolute miracle. They brought me into the room, the birthing room, at like I said, right, a few minutes right after he was born. And they brought me in there and the whole bit. And so I'd come in, and I can remember they'd gone and gotten me, and they'd bring me over, and they'd bring me in this room, and there's literally no word of a lie. There were 4 doctors working on her and the baby. There were 6 or 7 nurses and everybody there, all waiting to be able to jump in and do what they have to do, et cetera, et cetera. And they all turned and stared at me like, what are you doing here? And Bear simply looked up, and he said, he's my pastor. He said, he needs to be here right now. And he brought me over, and then he said to everybody, he said, he's going to pray for my baby. And everybody went silent in the room. And I just prayed for Jarvis. And God answered those prayers. Not just mine, I know that. But God answered those prayers. But I share that story with you because there's 3 things that I want you to be able to appreciate from that story. And the first is this. There's no time in anything that I do that I enter into these moments that I think to myself that I've got this. I've got this. I can handle this. I know exactly what it is. I've got this. There are more times than not where if you were to see me visually as to what I look like within my soul, I'm sitting in a corner with my thumb in my mouth, whimpering and shaking and thinking, please God, anything but this moment. And yet God has empowered me every single time to be able to bring life. Isaiah 26:12 says this, Lord, you have established peace for me. For everything that I have accomplished, you have done for me. The second thing is that I'm not a lone ranger. I'm not a lone ranger. Matter of fact, I can hardly go for a walk by myself, and that's the honest truth. And that I'm a team person. I'm a team person. It meant the world to me that day that the Lord had already prepared Eric to be able to drive with me. Not only there, but we came back at 4 o'clock in the morning? It was absolutely ridiculous. And only the roads were a little bit better when I returned home. And but I've realized that all my life, I have depended that God would surround me with the people that can help me to be able to accomplish the calling that He's placed upon my heart. Whether it be Matt Belfay, whether my good friend Andrew and his wife Sarah. This year they didn't come up and help us with our teen camp. It was one of the toughest teen camps we've had. I'm blaming it on you. And it was just one of the craziest things. But the crazy thing for me is being able to realize that, number one, God, you have equipped me. You have anointed me. You have justified me. And by the power of your Spirit, you enable me to do what I do. The second thing is this, and that is that God, you surround me with people who also come alongside and assist me to be able to help me do what I do, because I couldn't do it on my own, Lord. And the other thing is that I can feel the power of your prayers at work, and I can't tell you how many times that has happened in my life. I appreciate little things. Irene, you are the one person who, every time I send out an email update, she responds with a blessing from the Lord. It is just unbelievable, and it's meant so much to me over the years, and I thank you for that. Let me just see. 2 quick things that I want to be able to share. 3 final things that I want to be able to share with you. The first is this, and that is that in what we do, by the way, in the northern stuff, I need you to be able to appreciate it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's what it is. And sometimes it feels like the 2 steps back have eaten up most of the 3 steps. But at the same time, there are moments of encouragement that just keep me focused and keep me going. I would like to think that after 15 years, we'd be much further ahead doing some of the things that we've done. But we're not. But at the same time, we're seeing lives changed. 2 of the young people that I've had the privilege of knowing, both of them since they were about 10 years old, which is crazy. And that not only came to Ottawa, did their post-secondary, and I helped them with their coursework. How many times I got phone calls at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night? Hey, Paul, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm getting ready for bed. You know how old I am? Good night. What am I doing? and then, okay, if we come over? What do you mean come over? And then, well, I got this assignment due tomorrow and I'm stuck. Okay, come on over. I feel like I should have some honorary degrees, I'm telling you, okay? And then from the things that I've had the privilege to do. One of them is heading up their youth center. She is now the director of the youth center and all the programs that go on within it. in January, we're going up there to hold our youth retreat, our winter youth retreat. And the amazing thing about it is that we're going to hold it in Mistissini this year. And all I had to do was call her and say to her, hey, this is what we're doing. And right away she said, I'm booking it for you. You're going to have the whole center for the whole weekend. She said, it's yours. And she said, well, else do you need? And it's amazing watching her now in a position where she's helping the youth in her community. The other one is a NADAP worker. She's working, helping people find freedom from addictions and drug use and alcohol. It's unbelievable watching them in the positions that they're in. I've had the privilege in the last year of doing 3 of their weddings. That they wanted me to do their weddings. That was the privilege that they had where they asked me to be involved in that way. Unbelievable in that regard. There's so much more that I wish I could share with you. And honestly, the stories are just unbelievable in terms of it and stuff. But I want you to be able to know this. I think God is one of the greatest storytellers of all time. And one of the things that's amazing about God is that He loves a good story. And the truth is, heaven's going to be filled with a lot of great stories. Unbelievably great stories. And so the truth is, we'll probably have to wait till we get there to be able to hear all of these stories. And the truth is, I don't remember most of them anymore. I'm at that age. Amen. But do we have time? One of the things that we've done in the past is we made a film called Mistissini's Healing, and Stephanie Armstrong, who used to be Stephanie Veazey, and that has made a new one for me, which basically is on the whole issue of the residential schools and the impact that it's had, but not just to leave it there in terms of the impact that it's had, but the process of forgiveness and the power of forgiveness in some of these people's lives that has helped transform them because of the love of Christ. And we've got a little clip. It's about 8 minutes long. Can we finish with that this evening? Is that okay? And the full version of this is going to come out in the new year. But I thought I would give you a chance tonight to be able to see this. And so some of you saw a tiny little portion of it at the City of Ottawa prayer breakfast.
You remember the first time you were taken?
Yes, I do, yeah. As if it was yesterday.
The further away from home I got, I realized the further away we were. I started to get scared. This separated us from our siblings. I couldn't be with my sisters. I couldn't be with my brother. We were scared. We were always in fear. Some of the students that wanted to run away, some of them, they took that risk, and then they would be brought back and they would be given a strap. And being in residential school, I felt like I lost my sense of identity, because when we came home, we had our people found us different. And then when we're out there in the Western society, like going to residential school, we don't fit in that society. So we were kind of lost.
The way I treated my son was that I just pushed him away when things, like serious things, when he wants to talk about, and I said, never mind about that, or maybe that's the way my dad treated me, and I didn't know until he told me. That's how you treat me. and it really hurt. But it was between our parents. It affected them and it affected us being away from each other. We didn't know how to talk to one another, I guess.
I lost that sense of, that closeness, not being raised by my mom and dad. I dealt with this pain in a negative way. I started to abuse alcohol and drugs. I realized that there's got to be more to life than just partying, and because I lost my dad when the last year I was in residential school, and I started to see a change in my mother's life. I started to see her go to church, and then I realized that she really believed in God and that she gave her life to God. And I saw the peace that she had, even though she had just become a widow. I wanted what she had.
But I'm a survivor. We're survivors. A lot of us have been extremely difficult. A lot of us couldn't make it. A lot of my friends are still, having problems with alcohol. But we'll make it. I worked for at least 17 years with the band here, and then I thought I need to go back and finish off some of the things I wanted to do in school. I came out with a certificate, and then somebody told me, hey, there's elections this summer. And then I said, oh, I wanted to be chief one time. So I decided to run. I decided to run, and I won.
Only as an adult, when I started working, my confidence came in and saw what I could do and what I understood. They said, oh, wow, I love learning. And having 4 kids, I always had a desire of pursuing more of my education. And I thought, okay, it's now or never.
It didn't take me that long to read and write my language because it was already a part of me, and it's something that I took back, that I felt I lost during residential school, and that's something that I really treasure.
Even as a born-again Christian, I struggle with unforgiveness. I don't know how many years I struggled with that. Where it says in Matthew that, like, if you don't forgive others, God cannot forgive you. That really touched my life, my heart, when I read that. And there happened to be a conference, and I attended. It was about forgiveness. That conference really did something to me. At the end of the conference, I made a decision to forgive. I had better things to do, so I chose to forgive. And I did hear the former Prime Minister Harper, his statement. That was nice, but You know, at that time I already made a decision to forgive it and move on, because I knew that I was not created just to exist, but to live.
The full version of that is going to be coming out in the new year, and Stephanie's just working right now on the editing of it and pulling the final parts of it together. The stories in there are very real, far more real than what you have a taste of in here, in terms of what the residential school experience was like. But the beautiful thing about it too is how they've been able to find release and freedom through the power of forgiveness, and being able to accept and understand even that the love of Jesus, not reflected in the schools, was still a very real thing, and it could touch and change their lives, and in turn change the lives of the people in their community. So we're very thankful for that. We said we finished by 8:30, and it's 8:39, so it's not too bad. By Cree standards, we're unbelievably early. So we're doing very, very well. And my thanks to each of you again for coming, and deeply appreciate it. Les, do you have any final words?
No.
Oh, okay. And but there's still some more desserts, and so we'd love it if you were able to just enjoy it and be able to do that. And if you have any questions for Matt and I, we'd love to be able to answer them. And there's a number of other people here that have been up north with us as well, and they can also talk with you about that. So thank you once again. Thank you. Thank you for being part of all this and making this